It has become very common today to refer to the Byzantine Empire, which really should be called the Eastern Roman Empire, as no one at the time would have called it Byzantine, but everyone would have called it Rome. Anyway, it has become common today to refer to them as not Greeks, but Romans, as if the people would have just completely forgotten their ethnic heritage. Today we are going to look at the actual primary sources to see if this is an accurate statement. First, it is important to understand the terms Roman and Hellen. As the Roman Empire became Christianized, the term Hellen began to be used to refer to pagans. It lost its ethnic meaning and became a religious term. The term Roman began to have an understanding about it which said that if you were a Roman, you were a Christian. This does not seem to have lasted for as long as some make it sound like it did. Already in the 7th century, we see the term Greek being used in relation to ethnicity. In a letter to his spiritual child Nafkratios, Theodoros Studitis speaks about a monk named Orestes who fell to the iconoclasts and encourages him to remain faithful. He says, "For the sake of Jesus Christ, humble Graecia trembles in his favor." Graecia here refers to the whole Eastern Roman Empire. They seem to begin to refer to the empire as being Greece. For example, in a letter to the abbess Ephrosini of the monastery of Cluvi, Theodoros uses the phrase both in Armenia and in Graecia, referring to the entire empire. In the 10th century, in his kingdom's order, Konstantinos Porphyrogenitos, who was the 4th emperor of the Macedonian dynasty, mentions Greek education and Greek music as opposing not those of Christians, but those of barbarians. Psellos, who is a monk, writer, philosopher, imperial courtier, historian, and music theorist, calls the Eastern Romans Hellens. In a letter written by Psellos, the empire is called Hellas. Umonon entiton poleon vasilidi alaken pasi dialavia. St. Nicolaus Kavasilas, who is a mystic and theologian, said about Thessaloniki, "I think that there is not a single one of the modern Greeks everywhere in our country who does not honor our city as an ancestor, considering it the mother of education. Such is the character of our city, and with such precision in everything that happened preserved the laws of the ancient Greeks. Its relationship with them was not limited to the name, because I omit philosophy and those who have dealt with it here. There are so many that there are not so many in the rest of Greece either." Theodoros Metochites writes, "To us, who have the same origin and the same language as them, and we are their successors." Joseph Yanesios writes that during a battle between the Romans and the Arabs, the morale of the former was revived because an official quoted to the soldiers a phrase from the Iliad. Dimitrios Kidonis, writing in 1345 to Ioannis VI, says, "In Macedonia there are big cities and a large army, and it is customary for the barbarians to flee. And this name only causes horror to them, because they remember Alexander and the Macedonians who conquered Asia with him. So show them, my king, that there are Macedonians and King Alexander, he just lives in other years." The Emperor Theodoros II Laskaris, who ruled from 1222 to 1258, named the Empire of Nicaea Hellas, and considered its citizens as descendants of the ancient Hellens. He also stated that they are ethnic Greeks. Elinon Christonimoumenon Pleios ou Svenite. He also calls the kingdom of Nicaea Hellenic. Opotan ektis Evropis apanelthi prosto Hellenikon and Hellas. Sive pot an ektis Evropis anelphis istin Illada. Anna Komnene may be one of the most famous writers to show the link between Byzantium and the Hellens. Here are a few quotes from her. 1. Zagara is a barbarian bow, unknown to the Hellens. 2. Man like him has never appeared in the land of the Romans, neither barbarian nor Hellen. 3. There you can see a Latin being educated, and a Scythian learning Greek, and a Roman studying the works of the Greeks, and a Greek learning proper Greek. Nicolaus Magistros says, "We are Spartans on our father's side, and Athenians on our mother's side." He also writes that our city didn't decline, and our fatherland didn't become old, but it always bears the best, just like in old times when the Thessalian Achilles defeated the whole Asia at Ilion. We can also look to Saint Emperor John Vatatzes. Vatatzes ruled the Empire of Nicaea from 1221 to 1254, and as we saw before with the quote from Theodoros II Laskaris, was considered to be a Hellenic empire. According to Matthew Paris, the Pope at the time is quoted as saying to a Mongol envoy that they should march upon John Vatatzes, who is a Greek, son-in-law of Frederick, schismatic, and rebel against the Pope and Emperor Baldwin. Ironically, the Mongols rejected the plan as they did not wish to encourage the mutual hatred of Christians. St. John Vatatzes himself wrote, "The Greeks are the only heirs and successors of Constantine," referring here, of course, to Saint Emperor Constantine. The Greek historian Apostolos Vakalopoulos points out that Emperor Vatatzes used the words nation, Helen, and Hellas during his correspondences with the Pope. John's son, Theodore II, referred to the entire empire as Hellas as well. The generations after St. John died even referred to him as the father of the Greeks. There are many more examples I can give. The list goes on and on. I could even talk about how the Hellenes refer to themselves during the Ottoman years and after, which show how they still retain their Hellenic identity. But I hope this video can serve as an introduction to the subject to encourage further study of this fascinating topic. Thanks for watching.